Welcome to the Champions of Active Women podcast. In this podcast, we will interview individuals who have been successful within athletics and beyond. We hope that these interviews will encourage and inspire girls and women to be active for a lifetime, to reach their goals, and to break new barriers in sport and life. This podcast is brought to you by the Active Women's Health Initiative and the Sports Medicine Research Institute at the University of Kentucky. The mission of the Active Women's Health Initiative is to optimize health and promote physical activity and wellness for girls and women across the lifespan. We hope you enjoy our conversations and join us in understanding women's health today to ensure women's health tomorrow. Hi, I'm Dee Degonsky, and with me today is Kirby Willoughby. Kirby graduated from Lexington Christian Academy, where she was a dual sport athlete, playing volleyball and basketball. She continued her volleyball career at Eastern Kentucky University. Kirby received her undergraduate degree in kinesiology and her master's degree in exercise physiology from the University of Kentucky. She is a certified strength and conditioning specialist through the National Strength and Conditioning Association. She was a graduate assistant for the University of Kentucky Strength and Conditioning program during her time at UK and worked directly with several women's teams. She is currently the Deputy Athletic Director and Head Volleyball Coach at Lexington Christian Academy. Thanks for joining us today, Kirby.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So we are so pleased to have you as a member of the Active Women's Health Initiative Board, Advisory Board. And I thought you could get us started today by just telling us a little bit about why the health of girls and women is so important to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Growing up, I had a great example set for me. My mom was very active. My dad was very active. They liked to run and work out, and we were around sports a whole lot. So it kind of was ingrained in me early on. And then as I got older, I kind of took that on as my own and realized there's just so many positive benefits from health and wellness and being active. And so I want to be that example for the kids that I'm around daily or my own children. And I think overall it just improves the quality of life. I think it boosts self-esteem and confidence. And for me personally, it puts me in a better mood. So there's lots of benefits, I feel like, just for being healthy and active. I think it's great that you can set goals and work towards them and then achieve them, and to kind of see that challenge and see that those results of working hard towards something. So I think, our bodies were created very intricately, and I think that we're, called to take good care of them. And I think that's a part of taking care of our bodies is being healthy and active. And so that's kind of why it's important to me. I'm kind of passionate about it. I've just known it all my life. And so it's been something that I've enjoyed as each season of my life has changed through sports and college sports. And now as a mom and an adult that has to make my own decisions about what I want to do, it's been good for me to be able to have something to work towards.
Yeah. So could you talk a little bit about your early life experiences with physical activity and sport?
Yeah, absolutely. So if there was a sport I wanted to play it, I wanted to try everything that was available. And luckily my parents were very gracious to be able to provide the opportunity for me to do that. So I would often be playing multiple sports at a time in a season. I would try something new, and if I didn't like it, I would move on. But lots of different sports. And I remember changing in the car from practice. I'd get off one practice and change in the car and get to the next one. And my mom was just wonderful in that she just was kind of the taxi driver for us, and she got us where we needed to be. And so I got to try lots of things growing up. And then as I got to high school, I narrowed it down to volleyball and basketball were the two that I really loved the most, and really at that point kind of had time for. At some point you kind of have to pick, unfortunately. And then in college, I really wanted to play volleyball in college. And so that's when I started to narrow that down and got the opportunity to play Eastern Kentucky and enjoyed that. And then as I got done with my career, after all the years of, workouts and being told you have to go do this and you have to lift here and go to this gym workout. And then I had to figure out, what am I going to do with my time now on my own? How am I going to stay in it? And that's when I got into running. Okay. And so now I run and I go to some workout classes here and there and enjoy doing that. So that's kind of what I do now.
So was that transition difficult for you out of those very structured exercise sport experiences into more lifetime physical activity?
Yes, it was hard at first. It was, and luckily I had a degree that I was able, I
You were
knew I had
prepared
some
to
knowledge,
do it.
but it was hard to be somewhat self-motivated because after all those years of having a very structured schedule, I had to kind of figure that out on my own. And then as I got older, I realized I really do like, running and all the changing it up and the variation that I got to kind of try my own things and do my own workouts, and that was enjoyable for me.
Mm-hmm. What helped you to make that transition? What were some of the things that were helpful as you learned to be active on your own?
Yeah, part of it was I'm a much happier person when I get some sort of physical activity in. So my own knowing myself and knowing that I needed something to get me going in the morning and during the day. And then as I had children, it was one of those things where my only free time was the morning. So getting up at 5 a.m. was not something that I ever thought I would be doing. But now I love it because it's kind of my own time to myself, and it gets my day going, and then it's done for the day, and I can enjoy, I go to work and I can enjoy time with the kids later. And so it was one of those things where it was like, I know I need it, and I know it's good for my body, and I feel better when I do it. So how can I work that into my daily life?
Yeah, so putting in early in the day was one of the things that was helpful to you.
Yes.
Yeah. So can you talk about how those sport and physical activity experiences, in particular your sport experiences, those structured experiences, impacted your education and maybe your choice of either major and then leading into your career also? Yes,
absolutely. I enjoyed, like I said, I played everything. I got to meet lots of friends playing sports. That not every season is successful, or you can define success lots of ways. But as those early years where you're learning new sports and learning how to interact with teammates and people and how to be a good teammate and how to work hard, that kind of helped me mold me into, that's something that I enjoy doing every day. And so, my career choice was kind of easily paid for me because that's just what I loved. I was passionate about physical activity and sports and health. And so it was one of those things that was like, that's really what I want to do with my life. And so my mom was a physical therapist. And so I kind of had considered that route as well, of just helping people be healthy and with injury and that kind of thing. But I quickly learned that I love the exercise science route and learning more about the body and how it was created and how it works and functions. And we have, just on its own without us even doing anything is incredible. So that's kind of how it helped pave my way. It was something that I always did. It's what I knew, and it's what I loved.
Yeah. So in your job right now as coach and athletic director, you are interacting with a lot of young females. Can you talk about that experience being a role model for those young women, and just go ahead and start there with your experience being a role model for those young women?
Yeah, I was a young high school kid at one point, and so I had great role models around me. I actually remember my high school volleyball coach also worked full time, and so she would come in to practice sweaty, and she had just ran, and I was like, she's somehow squeezing that into her day, and it was kind of not the first time I had seen it, but just one of the things that had caught my attention, that I was like, she's staying healthy and active. And so now, like I said, with children of my own, but also with my girls that I coach, I want them to see what a healthy female who can work and be a mom and do lots of things, what that looks like. And so, I did have great examples set before me, so I want to be that for them, just because they may not see that at home or other places. And later on in life, when they're not playing volleyball or they're not doing, on a sport or a team, an organized thing, I want them to know that they can work towards achieve something that's a goal of theirs, and they can stay healthy and active, and that it's good for them. And so that was kind of early how that paved the way for me.
Yeah, it's interesting that you remember that you even noticed that as a young high school girl, and that's part of your memory, that this woman was squeezing that physical activity in.
Yes.
I don't know that that's something I would have recognized at that point in my life.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And I think it's interesting that you're thinking long term, like that they can think back to you later when they're going through these kind of transitions on their own.
Yeah.
So what do you think are some of the biggest challenges they face as young female athletes or just as young females today?
Yeah, I think there's lots of things. I think off the court, there's a lot of identity struggle. They don't, who they are, who they want to be, the comparison game of what people tell them they should be or should look like or how they should act. So I think there's a struggle there that's hard to deal with. Social media doesn't help. It makes it very difficult to have your own identity and be who you are and not worry about what other people may think. I think on the court, I think the idea of getting something, that instant gratification, our society, it's easy to want something right now. And when we want it right now, if we don't get it right then, it's easy to just quit on it. And so in sport, I think, you have to set goals, and it takes a while to get there. We're not all great at something when we start out, and it takes work to get better and to be better every day. And it's hard to be patient for that process. It's hard to persevere and tough that out for a while. Most of the time you don't want to do that. You want it right away. So that's one of the challenges, I think, just on the court, and I think also giving up your own personal desires for the betterment of the team is also very difficult. So those are kind of the things that I see, the hard work and the toughness and the kind of the grit that it takes to ride it out and to see success, but know that it doesn't come today or tomorrow.
Yeah, but what a great lesson if they can learn that through sport. What a great lesson for the rest of their lives if you can learn that through sport.
Yes.
So what are the best parts about your job?
I think that going kind of back to that previous question, just to watch them go through that process of working through hard things, whether it is on the court or off the court, whether it's athletically or in the classroom or a friend problem they're having or a family thing they're working through. That's the most rewarding for me, just to watch my girls kind of struggle through that a little bit and to work through it. Because and later on in life, they're going to have to deal through the same things. Sport is something that offers us lots of ways to learn lots of things. And so to help them work through those struggles and to see them fight through those issues and things and to be better because of it, I think is the most rewarding for me. And obviously the on-court success is absolutely, as a competitor, that's the best part. You want them to have that success on the court and to see them, get better and for them to see them get better and to see that success. But I think the best part of what I get to do is I get to help prepare them for later on in life. And that something they can always fall back on some of the things they learned in the sport later on when they need it.
So thinking about your own physical activity, participation, or sport throughout your life, how do you think that impacts your current health decisions?
I'm not very well-rounded because sport and wellness is really the only thing I've ever known. My family grew up around it, and we would. So, for me, like I said, I just want to be a good example for my family and my children, but also I think it just helps give me something. I like a goal, I like a challenge, and so being able to work towards something. And I think had I not had all those prior experiences in sport and physical activity, I don't know that I would be as driven to do what I do now as far as just being active and staying healthy. And I love running, which if you had asked me 15 years ago, don't make me run a mile. I didn't want to run anything. I don't know. I'm like, I play volleyball. I don't need to run. And actually, my girls tell me that all the time now when we're running. They're like, why are we running? We don't run in volleyball very much. So, but now that I've done a couple halves and I did my first full in January. So cool. Just setting some goals that's just fun for me. I like the challenge, and I like pushing myself to try new things. Yeah.
So that same competitiveness you had in your sport career, you've now transitioned to running.
Yes, it does kind of carry over.
Do you run with your family, or are you active in any way with your family?
Yes. So my husband runs. He's active. He does all sorts of things. And my kids actually are like, can we go with you for a run? I'm like, it's probably a little bit too long for you today. But if I do short ones, they'll ride their bike or my 5-year-old, he actually runs pretty well. He's like, can I run with you? And I'm like, well, we'll do a little quick run. And so they love being outside, and that's great for me too, because we can do things outside, and whether it's running or just riding bikes or walking, they love that kind of stuff. So that's been fun to kind of incorporate them into it as well.
Yeah, and be a role model for them as well as the young women in your life.
Yes.
Very good. Did you ever sustain an injury either while you were playing or later in life as you've just been active?
I've been very fortunate that I really haven't had anything crazy. There's always going to be a little thing here or there, but For the most part, no. I've been very, very healthy and very thankful for that. I've had a couple of shoulder things here and there just because of volleyball. So that's something that I kind of have to keep an eye on and work through, especially in the gym, as much as I'm in the gym right now with the girls and as much as I do with them. It's something that kind of is nagging, but luckily I've been very able to do what I can do.
Yeah. What kind of things do you do to prevent future injury, if anything?
Well, my shoulder, I try to, luckily I have good access to people trainers and things, who they give me stuff to do, and I actually do it. So I'll do it with my girls, like when they're doing their shoulder rehab and prehab stuff, I'll do it with them, because I need it just as much as they do.
Right.
And so that's been helpful. But other than that, I mean, that's kind of, I really have been lucky in that I haven't sustained anything crazy.
But I think that's a good lesson for them too, to use the support staff who are around them and to make sure you're doing those preventative things so that they can maintain the sport that they love.
Absolutely. And they don't really like doing it.
Of course they don't. None of us do. Any kind of rehab, people are automatically like, but it's important.
It is important for them.
Mm-hmm. Very good. So if you think back over the course of your life, obviously physical activity and sport have been a big part of your life, as you shared with us today. Can you imagine your life without those experiences, and what do you think it would be like?
I really can't. Even on the administrative side of my job, my dad was an example that I just watched growing up as he worked in athletics. So I can't imagine, what it would look like without it. It's just kind of all we've ever known. And I kind of joke with my husband. I'm like, our kids probably won't be well-rounded either. I mean, I remember doing like piano, and I'm like, I'm okay at that, but I can't sing. I'm not musically inclined by any means. So I'm like, our kids will probably be just like us, just sports, and that's all they know, and that's okay with me. But yeah, no, I really can't imagine, like, my career choice, everything. I don't know what I would do if it was not sport related. And I think that just goes to show that if you're passionate about health and wellness, like, there are so many opportunities, career-wise later on to continue that. And that's a great thing.
Mm-hmm. So what advice do you have for girls or women who are trying to be active and play sports and just be involved in those physical activity opportunities?
Absolutely. I think, there's so many things. I would say, one, find a friend to do it with, especially as you get older. It's more fun to do it with people. And I would say for younger girls, be bold and brave and try new things. Try all of it. Try all sorts of things and understand that you may not be the best at all of them, or there may be some things you like more than others, and that's okay. Find something that you love and do that, and push yourself and challenge yourself to do that. And I think it doesn't have to be boring. It doesn't have to be the same routine over and over, especially as we get older and we're trying to stay healthy. Like, mix it up and do new things and fun things. And it doesn't have to look the same for everybody. And so I think my challenge is go out and try something new, set challenges for yourself and work towards those goals, and make it difficult, make it a little bit hard, and work towards it.
Great. Anything else you'd like to share with us today?
No, I'm very grateful to be a part of what we get to do here, and I really am enjoying it.
Great. Well, we appreciate your time today, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to the Champions of Active Women podcast. This podcast is brought to you by the Active Women's Health Initiative and was produced by the Faculty Media Depot at the University of Kentucky. If you enjoyed this episode, you can listen and subscribe to all of our episodes wherever you find your podcasts. For up-to-date information about the Active Women's Health Initiative, you can find us on social media at UKAWHI. Thank you for supporting us as we work to promote health and physical activity among girls and women across the lifespan.